Bruchim Aboim B'Shem Hashem. Welcome to the historic first, which means there's going to be many more Marine Park Kinus Torah. As we start this Kinus Torah, we're obviously going to begin with connecting and davening for the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael, and also connected for the neshama of a great leader that was installed today, the Moshe Wolfson. We're going to do a kapitel Tehillim. Please join me. Start off with kapitel Chof, and then kapitel Kuf Chof Gimel. Lam natzeach mizmor leDavid. Yancha adonai b'yom tzara, esagev choshem leYaakov. Yishlach ezecho mikodesh, mitzion yisodeka. Yizkor kol min chaysecha, v'yilos chayidash nesela. Yiten lecha chilvovecha, v'chol atzoscha yimalei. Nedan nabishu asecha, v'shem aleinu nidgel, yimalei adonai kol mishalei secha. Ata yadati, kishi adonai meshicha, yaneu mishmei kodshe, b'gvuros yesha yaminoi. Ela v'recha v'ela v'asusim, v'anachnu b'shem adonai Eloheinu nazkir. Hema karov v'nafal, v'anachnu kamnu v'nesoidod. Adonai Yeshia, melech yaneinu v'yem koreinu. Kapitel Kuf Chof Gimel. Shira matli selecha nasasei seinai hayeshvi b'shamoyim. Hinei cheni avodim al yad adinayim, keni shivcha al yad gevurta, keni nino al adinay Eloheinu ad sheyichonenu. Chonenu adinay chonenu, ki rav sovanu vuz. Rabo sovolo nafsheinu, ala geshananim abuz ligeyoinim. Many people are asking, what does it mean that we're having a Kinus Torah? What is a Kinus Torah? So coming from Matan Torah, coming from Shavuos, when we receive the Torah anew, like it says in the Medrash Psikta, that Hashem told the Yidden that every year you should read the parasha of Aseres HaDibros, Ma'ale Ani Aleichem, as if you're receiving the Torah from new, which means that this year Shavuos, all of Klal Yisrael, once again receive the Torah from the Eibishter. So it's an obvious thing that we're going to be mechazik ourselves in learning Torah. Together with that, we all have our jobs, we all have the things that we do, and we have our kriyas itim l'Torah, but not necessarily do we have an opportunity to learn Torah in depth. To learn Torah like a bocher in yeshiva. To learn Torah like someone that's in kollel. And that's the point of this Kinus Torah. For these few moments, the hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is that we're here by the Kinus Torah, this is our only occupation. The one time they asked the Rebbe Rayatz in Russia during the time of the communists and during the time of the maskilim that were fighting against learning Torah, so he founded a yeshiva which would instill the value of learning Torah with a life guarantee. And the yeshiva was, Baruch Hashem, very successful. The yeshiva was called Tomchei Tmimim. And after many years of the yeshiva, someone came over to the Rebbe Rayatz and he said, I noticed an interesting trend. Listen to this, he says. For those bochrim that studied in your yeshiva for 1 year, it's possible that after that they left yeshiva, not necessarily did they keep to the standard of the yeshiva. Some of them went off. They got caught up in the communist regime, the communist way of life. But those that stayed in the yeshiva for 2-3 years, they were guaranteed to stay with the Yiddah Shamayim and Limud HaTorah. So it seems it takes 2-3 years for yeshiva to have an effect. So the Rebbe Rayatz said, no, it takes 1 day. He said, what's the pshat? We have the data, we have the statistics. Those that were there for 1 year, not necessarily did they keep it. Only those that were there for 2-3 years. He says, I'll tell you, the pshat is very simple. It only takes 1 day. But 1 day of only being in the yeshiva. He says, a Bachar comes to yeshiva, and he knows that at the end of the year, he's leaving. He was never fully inside. Only the people that were there for 2-3 years were they actually there for one day. And that's the point of tonight's Kinus Torah. It's only an hour or two that we're learning. But for this hour and two, there's nothing else that exists. Not our job. Maybe perhaps even we don't have to think about our family. Perhaps doing this Kinus Torah, we should be fully involved as if there's nothing else in our life. And b'schus this be'emes, we should be zoicha to have like the Medrash says, that when Mashiach comes, the only occupation of Yidden will be for learning Torah. We'd like to thank obviously the Rabbonim and the Rosh Yeshiva Shlita that are joining us here today. Before we call up the special Eidach that we have, we're gonna warm up with a special drasha, pilpul prepared by the Maggid Shir of the Yeshiva and Yeshiva Gdela in Queens. We'd like to call up Harav Chananya Vechter Shlita.
Okay, first of all, for me it's a big zchus to speak here, because as a chassid of the Rebbe, speaking in a Kinus Torah means taking part in something that the Rebbe is extremely encouraged. I'm sure it was probably mentioned that by every single Farbrengen that was coming out of Yontif, the Rebbe would speak an Inyan in Nigla the Torah, in connection with as a shtatfus of the Kinus Torah. So joining and speaking over here is a big schus to do an inyan which is very negea and gives nachas ruach to the Rebbe. Second of all, as was mentioned, it's Kinus Torah is al derech joining yeshiva. So I'm going to speak an inyan which not necessarily a pilpul, but just go through kavim klaliim, nekudis ikriyim in a sugya that we finished learning now in yeshiva. A very interesting sugya. It's a very big sugya and it's relevant to many halachas. We'll go through several aspects of it, and we'll base it off the Gemara that I just learned now in yeshiva. We'll share some yanim that we learned with the Bachrim. Okay, the title, as I'm sure you've seen, is about Negea Be'edos, the psul of Negea Be'edos. So, Shulchan Aruch, it says, in Chosh Mishpat Siman Lamed Zayin, it says, Kol Eidos sheyesh la'adam hana ba pasel lahoid. Any Eidos that a person has hana from it, he's possible to say that Eidos. That's a lashon of the Rambam with a slight shinoi. The Rambam says basically that lashon, and the Rambam is Messiah, shezehu kemeid la'atzmoi, because it is like saying Eidos for yourself. So anytime a person says an Eidos, wants to say Eidos, it's a mitzvah to say Eidos. But if you have a negia in that Eidos, you are puzzle because it's like you are saying Eidos for yourself. That's what the lashon of the Rambam is. The lashon negia be'eidos is brought down in the Gemara in many places, and the Rambam in Perek Tes Hilchas Eidos counts 10 people that are puzzle Eidos, and the last one is noigim be'eidos, those that have a negia, which means that the Eidos is relevant to them. It affects them. It's negia in them. Now, what is the reason why a negia be'eidos, someone who has a hana from the eidos, why is he puzzle? So there's a big machlokes in Achronim to understand. It's discussed in Achronim, although as we'll soon see, it's really based in the Rishonim, of course. The discussion comes out of the Gemara in Bava Basra, Perek Ches Abatim, Daf Mem Daled Amud Beis. Over there, the Gemara brings like this: Amar Ravin Bar Shmuel, Mishmei de Shmuel. Somebody who sells a sada to his friend without taking achrayas for the sale. So meaning that if the person he sells it to, Reuven sells the sada to Shimon will lose the sada. Reuven says, I'm not taking any responsibility. I'm not going to pay you back if you lose it, if someone takes it away from you. So if someone wants to come and take the sada away from him, there's a ma'arer, someone's coming to claim the sada really belongs to him. There's a Levi, a third person coming to say that. now Ruvain wants to say Eidos on behalf of Shimon that the Sada actually belongs to Shimon, not to Levi. So Shmuel says, even though he did not accept upon himself Achrayis, Ein Meid Lo Aleh Pnei Shema'amida B'fnei Bal Choivai, he cannot say Eidos. Why? Because Ma'amida B'fnei Bal Choivai. Which means that Ruvain, although Ruvain won't have to pay back Shimon, if Shimon does lose the karka, he's not gaining any money, but Ma'amida B'fnei Bal Choivai, which means that if Ruvain has a Bal Choiv, he owes, let's say, Yehuda, he owes him money, and he doesn't have any money to pay, Yehuda will come to him and say, pay me back, and Ruvain says, I don't have any money, so Yehuda will go to the Lekeach to take back the money. If the Lekeach will lose the Sada to Levi, the Ma'ara will win, then Ruvain's Bal Choiv won't have from where to be goive his Choiv. So therefore, the Moicher, the person that sold the Sada, cares that the Sada should remain by the Lekeach. That way, if his Bal Choiv comes to collect the Choiv, he could go to the Lekeach. Okay, the Gemara explains, if the Moicher has more karka, then what's the problem? The Bal Choiv won't go to the other person. So the Gemara says, the Gemara says, if he doesn't have any more karka, why does he care? Which means that he doesn't have anything to pay. So if the Bal Choiv comes to him and says, give me money, and he says, I don't have, he'll go to the Lekeach. The Lekeach will say, well, I just lost the Sada to Levi. So now the Bal Choiv has nowhere to be going for the Choiv. It doesn't make a difference to Levi, to the Moicher. What's the difference? Either way, he's not going to pay. Either way, he's not paying because he doesn't have any money. So the Gemara says, Lo Ilam, you're right. He doesn't have any money. Why does he care? Because he doesn't want to be he doesn't want to be considered a loive rasha v'leishalim. The pasuk says someone who borrows money and you don't pay back, you're considered a rasha. So therefore, if the lekeach will lose the karka and the Bal Choiv will not have from where to collect his choiv, he will be called a rasha. Now over here, there's an obvious question, and in the lashon of the Maharam says, Makshin ha'olam, the olam asks a big kasha. Huh? Yeah. So the Maharam asks a shaila, Makshin ha'olam, that I don't understand. What kind of a problem is that? The guy doesn't want, his guy is going to say Eidos Sheker in order not to be called a rasha. If you say Eidos Sheker, you're a bigger rasha. Eidos Sheker is from the Avedas Chamuris. It's very severe. We are ma'irich that we're ma'ayim on the Eidos, how severe it is to say Eidos Sheker. And the mitamal, the guy is going to lie. Okay, Pasha the Shaila. So the Maharam says that the same oilam that's makshe is mitaretz. And they say that we're not talking about over here that the guy, in the lashon of the Rabbeinu Yoina, it's not pshat over here, he's Lotzis Yidei Shema, he's Yidei Chet. He doesn't want to be. It's not pshat. He's Yidei Shemayim over here. Elamai, the guy doesn't want to be called a rasha, but any habriyas. He doesn't want to be called a rasha, but any habriyas, which means that if he says Eidos Sheker, who knows? He lied in Bezdin, nobody knows. He knows, fine. But if he doesn't pay back his choiv, everyone will be calling him, the whole town will be calling him a rasha, and he doesn't want to be called a rasha. That's the teretz that the Maharam brings from the Olam. Then he says, that it's not really a kasha b'chlal. Why not? Because kol davar sheyesh la'adam hana boy, anything a person has a na from, a meyed alav, yesh lo din eid hakarev. Sh'adam karev is salatzmai, and karev is pasal eidos minat Torah, even if we know for sure that he's not going to lie. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the Gemara in Daf Kuf Nun Tes, afilum ambav basra, afilum Moshe Rabbeinu al v'shalom pasal lahayed l'aren achiv minat Torah. So the Maharam is basically saying like this. It's not a question. Anytime a person is saying eidos on something that he has a na from it, so it's like that he's saying the eidos for himself. If he's saying the eidos for himself, he's a karev. Adam karev et salatzmai. Adam Kardeves Latzme means that you can't run away from yourself. You're always related to yourself. So if it benefits yourself, you're a Kardev to yourself. A Kardev is Pasal Eidos, even if we're not worried that you're going to lie. So in this situation, as we see that Aaron will be puzzled, Moshe will be puzzled to say Eidos for his brother Aaron, even though of course we're not Choshesh Moshe Rabbeinu that Chas v'Shalom Moshe Rabbeinu would say a lie. So therefore, even in our case, where apparently there's no reason to lie, he's not going to lie, say Eidos Sheker, in order to be not called a Rasha. But nevertheless, because he does benefit at the end of the day from saying this Eidos, he's considered an Eid HaKarev. He's considered a Karev Latzman. A Karev is Pasal Eidos, even in a situation where we're not worried he's going to lie. So you see from this Maram that there's two ways to understand a Negea Be'edos. Either Negea Be'edos is Pasal Eidos because we're concerned he's going to lie, or he's Pasal Eidos because once it's Negea to you, you're considered a Karev Latzma, and you're Pasal Eidos whether or not we're worried you're actually going to lie or not. Okay, this exact discussion in the Maharam is brought down in the Neis Kelim in the beginning of Shulchan Aruch. The Sma and the Shach. Let me know how much time I have. The Sma and the Shach. The Sma brings that the Levush brings from the Levush. Levush says this, that a person is not allowed to say Eidos in the Eidos that he has enough from. It's not because we're Choshedim, rather because he's a Karev. So the Sma says, I don't know where he got this from. I don't understand why he says that. It's Pashat Be'enai, that the reason why you're not allowed to say Eidos is because we're Choshed him that you're going to lie. Now he brings several rayas. He doesn't touch the mois. He brings several halachas in Simon Lamed Zayin, which he says show you that the reason is because we're choshed you're going to lie. At the end, he says we only say Adam Karev La'atzmai when it comes to Ein Adam Meis Matzmai Rosha, when it comes to saying Eidos for himself. But money, we don't say Adam Karev La'atzmai. We'll try to get back to that explanation that he says later. The Shach does the same thing. The Shach says, I know why the Levush says it, because of the Kasha and the Maharam, but the Ikir is that the reason is because we're concerned he's going to lie. Now let's just explain a little bit the chiluk between these two opinions. First of all, if you say that we're choshed is going to lie, that means, the pashtos, it means that minat Torah, there's a chasht, we're choshed the person, that a person would lie to say a eidos sheker. That's, now, I didn't see so far from learning the sugya that any of the Rishonim say mefurish that it's minat Torah. In other words, if you hold that it's possible because of chash mishaker, I didn't see anywhere that it has befedish, that's minat Torah, but that's the mashmos. It's certainly mefurish in the Chasam Sofer that I'll mention in a minute. And interesting, as a Maimon Amuskir, very interesting. The Rambam, like I said before, counts 10 people that are Pasal Eidos at the beginning of Perek Tes, and he goes on to mefarish all of them. By each one, he says, this person is Pasal Eidos minat Torah. There's only one that's Pasal Midrabanan. Bozo is someone who embarrasses himself. So on that, the Rambam says Bozo is Pasal for Eidos midivreihem. But when it comes to Negea be'Eidos, the Rambam Mittamol doesn't say. He doesn't say whether it's the Raisa or the Rabbanon, so I don't know what the Rambam's opinion is. But it's just an interesting shinoi that all the other 9, the Rambam says, each one of the 9, he says, Minat Torah or Minat Rabbanon. This one, he doesn't say anything. B'chol Eifin, in Pashtos, it comes out that it's a Chashash Midei Raisa. Now, if you learn that it's Mishum Kurva, meaning a person is Adam Kardaves Latzmai, then it's for sure a Psul Dei Raisa. Now, the K'tzah says in Simon Lamed Zayin, he says that over there he goes, it's actually Simon, it's in 2 places. Yeah, Simon Lamed Daled and Simon Lamed Zayin. In Simon Lamed Daled, he goes on to, he starts off by speaking about a question, which is very negay over here. Are you allowed to pay someone to say Eidos? Are you allowed to pay him? If you pay a person to say Eidos, is he kosher or puzzle? Well, he's for sure puzzle, says the Shulchan Aruch. The shaila is whether it's the Raisa or the Rabbanon. So the K'tzah says, Midi Raisa, he's kosher. He brings a Raya, but the Choleifin, he says it's kosher. He says, because Minat Torah, we're not choshed a person is going to lie to make money. It's very reasonable. I saw this morning that the Chasam Sofer in the Chedushim Bav Basra and Daf Mem Gimel, he actually says that there's a difference. We're not choshed, Chashvus Shalom, he's going to say Eidos if you pay him money. No one's going to say Eidos to make money. But not to lose money, there we are choshed. So he makes a distinction, what kind of money. So, if you learned that it's Mishum Kurva, the svara would be that we don't say that a person is choshed to lie to make money. Le'idach Yisa, the svara bepashtos, why the other achreinim, the Shach and the Shach and the Smeh say that no, the Ikr is that it's because of Chash Meshaker. They don't say it's because of you're a Karev. Is you see this in the Rayas, one of the Rayas that they bring. They bring a halacha they bring it from the Lemukah Yosef, who says in a earlier sugya, it's difficult to go into all the pratim of the sugya, but in an earlier sugya where it discusses a similar situation, one person sells it to somebody else, and the point over there is that the Gemara says that there's two ways the person could say his eidos. In one way, he'll say his eidos. He'll keep the karka. Another way, he'll say eidos on the same topic. He'll say the karka belongs to this person, but he'll say it differently. He's not negea b'eidos, and he cannot benefit from it afterwards, and therefore he's kosher to say this eidos. So the Mukha Yosef says, you see from over here, that someone who's puzzled to say eidos because he's negea b'dover is not the same thing as someone who's puzzled because he's a karev. A karev, no matter whether, it doesn't make a difference if you're saying a eidos l'schusay of the karev or l'chayvasay of the karev, whether you're benefiting your relative or you're not, or you're saying something bad for your relative, you're still puzzled. So when it comes to yourself, you're also going to be puzzled. It doesn't matter if you're saying eidos for yourself, for you benefit yourself, or to not, or to be mechayiv yourself, you're still going to be puzzled because you're a karev. But mashenkin, if you're a puzzled because you're negea b'davar, if you're negea b'davar, we say no. If the specific eidos you're saying you will benefit from, then you're negea b'davar. If you say it differently and suddenly you're not going to benefit from it because you said it differently, you're not going to be, you're not going to think. Now, what do you see from this raya? You see from this raya that the reason why the shach and the smell learn that you're not going to say a person is karev elatzma is bepashtos, is because when do you say a person is karev elatzma? When do you say that a person is negea, that a person is considered saying eidos for himself? That's if the discussion that we're talking about, the eidos that is about yourself. If it's about somebody else, but you can benefit from it, we don't consider you a karev. That's why as soon as the negia b'davar, you're going to it goes away. You're not considered a negia b'davar. Now, there's several nafkaminas. We don't have time to go into them. There's a lot of nafkaminas. It's a big sugya. One thing I wanted to mention is that we see these two tzdadim. No, before that, there's another oisprach in the Rishonim and Achronim would say that the reason why a negea b'davar be'edos is possible is because he's considered the bal davar. Now, there's room to say it's not necessarily like that, but there's in some Rishonim and Achronim it's clear that there's a distinction. If you say a person's pasul le'edos because you're the bal davar, it's a different pasul than if you're considered a karev. Bal davar means you are the person that we're talking about. So if, let's say, I borrowed money and I want to say I don't owe you money, I'm the bal davar, the topic is about me. It's about me. So therefore, there's a svara to say that if a person is saying eidos and he benefits from it, even though the topic is not about you, we're still going to consider you a bal davar. Now, the truth is that this question and answer is really brought down from the earliest of the Rishonim, the Rimigash. The Rimigash brings these two answers. First answer, he says, Chashash Meshaker is because Latzes Yedei Abriyos. Second answer is because he says a different lashon than the Maharam. He doesn't say you're a karev. He says, because you're saying eidah for yourself, ain't aid klal. There's a big nafkamina b'davar. If you're a karev is considered an aid. You're an aid, but you're puzzle. Mashiach, if you're a bal davar, you're not considered an aid b'chlal. So, for example, if a person becomes is pasul eidos because he's negea b'davar originally, and then later on he removes himself. So let's say you have two partners. There's a question about the property that's owned they own. He's a bal davar because half the property belongs to him. But if he's misalik himself, if he removes himself from it, he'll be able to say eidos. Now the halacha is that a person, in order to say eidos, you need to be kosher metchilas yivad soif. You need to be eidos. You need to be kosher from the beginning till the end, meaning from when you see the eidos and when you actually say the eidos. So in this case, you were pasul originally. When you know the eidos about your shutaf, you were pasul. Nevertheless, we say, the Gemara says that you're kosher. And one of the reasons why is the Rishonim had different answers. One of the reasons is, two reasons where you see this distinction is, one reason is because the reason why you're pasul when it's your negeh b'davar is not because you're a karev, it's because we're chayshid you that you're going to lie. So you're good, you're aid. Just b'poyo, we're chayshid you. If you remove the chshad, you're kosher. You don't need to be tchilasei v'seifei b'kashros because it's not a question about you if you're a good aid or not. You just b'poyo, there's a inyan zdadi. That's one answer. So you see from that, the Ravid who says it's Teretz, you see he holds Taka that the Chashash is Shema Yishaker. And therefore, it's not a psul in you yourself. Another answer, which is brought down in the Rishonim, is that you're the Baal Dover. You're the Baal Dover. If you're the Baal Dover, then you're not an aid. If you're not an aid, then when you become an aid, that's when the question begins. Are you an aid from the beginning until the end? But at the time that you're the Baal Dover, you're not begeder aid b'chalal. So you see that there's a chiluk over here. And so, the Sikkim Advarim, because there's no more time. The Sikkim Advarim, there's... you could say three ways, although you could narrow it down to two. Two reasons why a person will be pasal eidos if he has an negiyah b'davar. Number one, because he's going to lie. And number two, because he's adam karevis latzmai, or he's the bal davar, and a person is not allowed to say eidos for himself. Okay, that's about it for now. Thank you for joining us. And the ikar is that it should be meisif in the kach in limud Torah for ourselves and for everybody else. Al kol Hashem kula.
Shkach Gadol Chananya Vector Shlita from Tetzayim from the Tesvis Yom Tiv. We're very honored to have with us here a Choshevet Yeshiva in the community, a very well respected Rav. You know, there's many Rabbonim, but this Rav is not. It's a great Talmid Chacham, Mamash Agoyin Olam, and he was mechabed us here to share with us a pilpul. He gives many shurim in the yeshiva, but this is different. This is for workmen, and he's sharing with us his Chidushei Torah, both for those that are here, as Asher Yeshnei Poi, and those that are watching the live broadcast. I'd like to call up the unofficial Eirach HaKavod. When we invited him, we asked him to be the Eirach HaKavod, but he refused. So he's the unofficial Eirach HaKavod, Harav Zolti Shlita.
It's good, perfect. Very happy to be part of the Asifa L'Kvoid HaTorah. I was called, if I could join, that's not the point. I was asked to join a Asifa for Chizuk HaTorah. Chafetz Chaim, even at a very elderly age, and not capable much of walking even, but once he heard the need to him to attend anything that was mechazik, yeshivas, kavod haTorah, the Chafetz Chaim did not refuse, with all the difficulty it may have involved. And Baruch Hashem, Younger mentioned, so it's a koshken v'kal v'chayma, the opportunity to attend such an asifa. Torah has a gewaldige koyach, even a limud haTorah. This is, of course, to promote a constant kviyas of Torah. But I turn to Gemara and Brachas. Oyalim l'necholim, the Gemara says, Lama nismuchu oyalim l'necholim. Necholim is a place where a person is mitayah himself. It's a mikveh. And the Gemara says in Daf Tezayin and Brachas that oyalim, which refers to the oyalim, botei medrashos. Dr. Rashi, that's what oilim is meant over here. And the Chazal Zogin, Man Necholim Malon Esa'odem, we know that mikvois, Necholim, rivers, bring a person mituma l'tahira. Izafay Holim Malon Esa'odem, Mikav Choyva l'kav schus, the benefit of a beis medrash, a kviyas of Torah, no matter the amount of time, not everybody has the amount of time to be yoshev v'loimit kol hayoim. Doesn't make a difference. Whatever amount of time that you do have, that Torah is mahapich you. It's mitayah you. It's no less than a mikvah. That's mitayah sa'odem mituma l'tahira. Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, Gemara says the ma'aminin ba samadachaya. What that means that the Torah is a samchaim. It's a medicine of life. It gives life. But it says over there as well, the ma'aminim ba is samadachaya. When is it a medicine for life? If it's ma'aminim, the word ma'aminim is oiskim ba b'chol koicham. I say this many times, that a person, no matter how much time he has for the sake of learning Torah, but it should be a learning that has an amelus. That's the Torah that changes a person. It brings all the brachas that we read in Parshas, the beginning of Parshas B'chukaisai. All the birchas HaTorah starts with the words in B'chukaisai Telecha. If you spend time learning, that time should be with namelis, with a havana. Do it with all your energy, with all the effort possible, even if it's a small amount of time, but it should be be'iyun, v'amelis, and that Torah could change the person. With the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish used to go around in Bnei Brak and he used to test the Chadorim. He would go around and give Kinus to the Chadorim. And he came to a certain class and the Rebbe said, this Talmud over there, don't ask him any questions. So the Chazon Ish followed the instructions of the Rebbe, did not ask any questions. I guess because you would not expect any answers from him. Afterwards, after the Bechina, he asked the Rebbe, what's with the Talmud? And the Chazon Ish sat down with him a few moments and learned with him a few moments. That was the mice. A number of years later, so, in the Panovich Yeshiva, they would distribute atares not for money, but for the amount of blat gemara you would accept upon yourself. That's the meaning of many yeshivas today, to buy atares for blat gemara. So there was a bach in Panovich Yeshiva that bought it for 2,000 blat. Yeah, it's more than the Daf Yomi, right? He bought it for 2,000 blat. So they looked around, and who was the bacha? It was that bacha that the Rebbe had said a few years before, don't ask him any questions. And all of a sudden, this is the boy that accepting upon himself the 2,000 blat of the Gemara. What happened? So the Chazon Ish said something. The Chazon Ish said the following. He said, one Mishnah could change a person for life. Now the Chazon Ish didn't mean because he learned that Mishnah with the boy. He didn't mean that. He said one Mishnah that a person learns could change a person for life. So they asked the Chazon Ish, which Mishnah? And the Chazon Ish answered, any Mishnah. That's what the Chazon Ish said. So the power of Torah, and this Asifas Torah, for as much time as it is, I'm not going to take up that much of your time because I have also a shibudim in the yeshiva at night, Chazor Sashir and things like that, but any amount of Torah that was meant to be for over here is kuloi, could change us all. Yes, every year sitting here could change because of the Divrei Torah that was just said, a beautiful shir. It's such hanor from the shir. No, you can be edus. It's one of the sugyas that I learned in yeshivas, Cheskes Habatim, the Giyah Be'edus, a tremendous hanor from the shir. And Eez Hashem, the Divrei Torah should be piled by us, should change us. V'rosi Yetzirah, the summertime, unfortunately, is a time, unfortunately, a time of V'rosi Yetzirah, V'rosi Torah Talmud. It's difficult to walk in the streets in the summertime. And the Olam should know, Chazal gave us advice that there's only one thing. There's only one thing that could secure a person from the Yetzer Hara, and which is, of course, the Barasi Yetzer Hara, Barasi Torah Talmud. So it's an appropriate time, summertime, vacation time. A person needs extra protection against the koyach of the Yetzer, and the Asifas HaTorah is the right idea, what could help a person. I'm just going to say over very, very briefly a nice ha'ara. Is a Gemara in Masechta. It's something I think which should be familiar to all of us. The Choshve Rabbanim asked me for a subject title, and so I gave a subject title, Chiyav Noshim B'Mitzvah. So I'm going to try to bring out a certain point, and I'm going to do it briefly, so I don't want to take up time of others that are going to be speaking. The Gemara has a Shalom Masechta Brachos Daf Chof Amid Beis, whether Noshim are chayiv and birchas hamazon midiraisa or not. Are they chayiv to bench minat Torah? So the Gemara is not poishet to shaila. The nafkaminas, can they be moitzi a man that's chayiv midiraisa? They are chayiv midrabanan for sure. Definitely chayiv. Woman has to bench. At least midrabon, but midiraisa, it's a suffix in the Gemara, and the Gemara is not poished to shaila. And Daf Chafam et Beizim is sech the brachas. Why would she not be mechuyev to bench midiraisa? What's she different? Well, what's it? It's not a mitzvah sasei shazman groma bench. Baruch Hashem, we eat at all times, and we bench whenever we eat. What would be a reason that she's not chayiv in birchas hamazon deraisa? It's a good shai. Rashi says because she didn't take a chelik in Eretz Yisrael. And that's the story. Rashi Taisus disagrees with Rashi, and he says if that's the case, that maybe Kainim Levim should also be part of from Birchas Hamazon for that reason, because they also didn't take a chelik in Eretz Yisrael. So Taisus disagrees with Rashi, and he says that the svara to pata women is because bris v'tera. Part of benching is mentioning brischa shechasamtev sarenu, val teroscha shlimadetanu, and noshim are not bebris. And they're not b'tera, they don't have the mitzvah Talmud Torah, women are potter from Talmud Torah, so therefore, that's the reason why they may be potter from benching, because bris v'tera is ma'akev in benching. If you left it out, it's ma'akev. So maybe for them, they're not shaykh to bris v'tera, so maybe they're not chayiv in benching minat Torah. That's what Tosfos says the Gemara's suffix is. So what am I going to present to the Olam over today? I'm going to ask a simple question and a good question with a few ma'amekaims. We know the benefit of Torah for women. So let's start with the Gemara in Brachos. Noshim b'mai zachyan. The Gemara says what's going to be the schus for women to be zeicha to tchias hamesim, to be zeicha to olam haba. The Gemara says what's going to be their schus, and the Gemara says because they have the schus ha-Torah women. The schus ha-Torah is that they send off wait for the husbands to go out to learn, and they send off their children to Talmud Torah. So they have the schus ha-Torah because of those two things. That's the Lashon HaGemara in Masechta Brachos. Mentioned is another Gemara in Masechta Soita. Schus Torah. Sometimes a woman who drinks the Mayim Hamorim, we learned in Parshas Nosai, there's a mandiyama that says schus Torah. It could say, but which schus is Torah for her? So the Gemara says schus ha-Torah, but she's potter from Talmud Torah. So the Gemara says the schus of ascending, teaching their children and their husbands, sending them off properly. You got to send off your husband with a nice smile and make him a nice mezainis for going out to learn. You can't just say, you better be back or else. Yeah, the Elam understands what I'm saying, that Chazal meant that they're encouraging to their husbands to learn Torah, and if they stay a few extra minutes, they're not doomed. But anyways, this is I think that's emes. It's emes in the pshat of the Gemara, but that's what the Gemara says in Sleitach of Aleph. They do have a schus ha-Torah, and the schus ha-Torah is what I just mentioned, mitzad the husbands, mitzad the children. And other Rabbeinu Bechaya mentioned in Parshas Rabbeinu Bechaya in Parshas Yisrael, Koisayim ala beis Yaakov, b'sagid l'bnei Yisrael, the women are mentioned before the men. The beautiful words of the Rishonim, the Rabbeinu Bechaya says in Parshas Yisrael, because the Torah depends on women. Yes, the Torah depends on women, the hashpah that they give, the avos ha-Torah, that they give to children at a young age. That's the kiyum of Torah by Klal Yisrael, is the women. Koisayim ala beis Yaakov. They're critical in Torah. Kabbalah's ha-Torah of Klal Yisrael is the woman's role is critical because of the hashpah that they have on the children on the house. And the women, the mothers, infuse an avos ha-Torah to the child that stays with the child forever. And that's why the Torah says, Koisayim ala beis Yaakov, before v'saged l'bnei Yisrael. In Shulchan Aruch, it says, Noshim evorcha is birchas ha-Torah. Women make birchas ha-Torah. Noshim evorcha, why do they make birchas ha-Torah if they're potter from Talmud Torah? It's a machlekes why they make birchas ha-Torah. They have to learn the mitzvahs that are negeh to them. That's maybe one reason they can make birchas ha-Torah. They should make birchas ha-Torah. They're chayiv because of the mitzvahs that they're mechuyev in. They have to learn those mitzvahs to know what they're mechuyev to do. So they are chayiv in Talmud Torah for the sake of knowing the mitzvahs. Or birchas ha-Torah, Chaim Brisker says it's a bracha on the Torah itself. The Torah itself needs a bracha. not the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Torah needs a bracha, and women's learning is also considered Talmud Torah. I really hope so, because the seminaries are very expensive. So I really hope that it's true that their limud haTorah is called limud haTorah. But that's what Reb Chaim Brisker said, and the birchas haTorah is the bracha on Torah. Limud haTorah needs bracha. Unquestionable, the Ramban writes in Sefer HaMitzvahs, what is birchas haTorah? Beautiful words of the Ramban. It's a haidah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for giving us the greatest present possible. The present that gives us the opportunity to be Zoicha Chayim Habar. I say Chayim Hamazeh also, Tzvayim Hazeh as well. But it's a bracha of haidah. Thank you to Rabbeinu Shalom for giving us this matana of Torah. That's how a Yid learns Torah, by making birchas haTorah prior to learning, appreciating what Torah is. Before you learn Torah, you need that birchas haTorah to give a haidah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on what the Torah is and its matana. So basically, being mekatz a little bit, but there's such a critical role that women have in Torah, such a part of Torah. The men's Torah, the children's Torah, their own Torah is called Torah. It's limud haTorah. It needs a birchas haTorah. Chaim explained. So now I come to my kasha, which I'm going to basically leave down with the kasha. I'm going to say a little bit of a teretz. We'll see if the Olam agrees to the teretz. But my question is, now I look at Tosfos in Masechta Brachos I mentioned before. Tosfos says that maybe Noshim don't have a chiyuv to bench. Maybe. It's a suffix in the Gemara. Why not? Because they're not with bris v'Torah. So I want to ask you something. What is it that we say in benching? Noida l'cha Hashem alikeinu. I want to thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bris v'Torah. What is Tosfos saying? That a woman can't say Noida l'cha. She can't thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the Torah that you gave us and you taught us. I just brought you all the Gemaras. All the Gemaras that speaks about the schus of women, the schus haTorah of women, the Torah of their husband, the Torah that they teach their children, the Torah that they learn, birchas haTorah that they say. So I don't understand the words of Tosfos. Honestly, Noida l'cha Hashem alikeinu is a haidah that we say to Rabbeinu Shalom Brischa. Good, but what's with Torah Shleim at the Tana? Why can't women give haidah for Torah? Where would they be without Torah? Matan Torah was for everybody. Was for women as well. Hakol moedim batzeres binin lachem. You have to eat on Shavuos, even if you don't have to eat on other Yom Tovim, but on Shavuos sheboy nitna Torah to svar. You have to show the Torah is nicha for you. It's nicha for the guf also. But I said that l'chayr that a woman would be mechuyev to eat pas on Shavuos because of that reason. Sheboy nitna Torah. They would have to eat pas. They'd have to bench over if they miss Yal B'Yaveh. It's a tiny that I had a little bit of ha'or on Reb Kivega, and they told me that I saw the Binyan Shlomo asked it, that on Shavuos, a woman would also have to eat a kezayis pas maybe, and she'd have to bench over if she missed Yalav V'Yaveh, different than another yontif. Shabai nitna Torah, who's the Torah given for? For men and not women? Chas v'shalom, Torah is for ganz Klal Yisrael. So that's my kasha on Divrei HaTosfos. 1 second, women can't thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for Torah Shleima D'Tana. Where would they be without the Torah? Where would the men be without the Torah of the women? That's my kasha, and I'm going to leave the end off with a shtickle teretz. But the teretz has to do with this asifa. My teretz on the kasha has to do with this beautiful asifa. That's such a honor for me to participate and be part of. Okay, there's been mischazik constantly these type of asifas of Torah should be mechuzik by everybody here, and my answer is the following. You have to take a situation. A husband comes home. BMG is a very big base medrash. A lot of people learning there, and they're learning properly. They're harving Torah all day, and the husband comes home after a day of learning, and he worked very hard on a sugya. He worked hard the sugya. And a Rashba, and the Shach, a Shver Shach, mit Asma, and he came up with a pshat, and he comes home, mamish, he's in seventh heaven, as they say. From the Simchas HaTorah of his Amelis B'Torah, he comes home, and he tells his wife, what kind of learning I had today? I Harvard, I worked hard. I came up with a pshat and a rashba. And she looks at him. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't learn the rashba. I can't learn the rashba. I don't learn the shach, the sma. I can't listen to the shia noigen be'edis. Is negia psul kar, is a psul chash meshaka. I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm saying maybe that's the kavanas hataisus. For a person to give proper haidah to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's a shvach. Yes, Rebbe Shalom, thank you for giving the Torah. I could send off my husband. But he comes home with such a joy from Amelis B'Torah, and I have no part in it. I don't understand what he's talking about. If he says it over to me, I still don't understand it. Maybe that's the pshat. To give a haidah properly for Torah, a man could give proper haidah because he could have the appreciation of sitting with a blat gemara properly, a rashba, a shach, and a sma. So he could give proper haidah. A woman can't give that haidah. So maybe she's part of Birchas Hamazon because her haidah is a chatzi haidah. True, you gave me the Torah, but you didn't give me the ability to sit in BMG on a beis medrash to harv on a rashba and your Torah hakdosha. Efshir does hashtikul pshat. And it gets back to the first thing we said, that asifas haTorah should be asifas haTorah. That's mechazik all of us. The chshivas of Torah is so primary, such a basic yesod. We said Tehillim. Start off with Tehillim for Klal Yisrael, for the tzaras of Yin. The tzaras of Yin today is Noir V'Ayim. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He wants the schus HaTorah of Klal Yisrael. Eloheim Niturikata. People have a false image. Niturikata, they see pictures and things like that. Let's not make a mistake. The Medrash says, and yes, the Medrash and Eicha, Eloheim Niturikata. You people here right now, sitting in the Beis Medrash here, you are the Niturikata. That's what the Medrash says. Medrash Megillas Eicha. Everybody that should be Zeicha, to have the joy of Limud HaTorah, be able to learn Torah, mitoich menucha, mitoich nachas of your families, Be'ez Hashem, bar yiskufa, varichas yamim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bring us out of this choshech hagolus. He should bring us out b'korev, b'biyas hagoyel.
Yeshakayach Gadol to Rav Zolti Shlita, both for his words of his oiderus, as well as such a deep shir that he was mezakas with. I want to just mention before the Rav leaves that he said that we should continue with more events as such in the future. So here's a public invitation to our future Kinus Torah. This is the first annual Kinus Torah. We're definitely going to continue Be'ezus Hashem in continuation to each one of the Shalosh Regalim. After Simchas Torah, and after Yitzias Mitzrayim, after Pesach, as well as after Matan Torah, every year, Be'ezus Hashem, we're going to be having here at Kinus Torah, the Sunday after Yom Tif, and everyone's invited to join us once again in the future. Without further ado, we're honored to hear Divrei Torah and a pilbul in a very interesting topic, extremely, from Harav Hendel Shlita.
So the question is, over here in the summer, the Shabbos is late, and a lot of people davening Ma'ariv early. Most of the people davening Ma'ariv early. Some people davening even Ma'ariv very early, and they make Kabel Shabbos. Could happen many scenarios. I'm going to tell you soon how many options could happen. That somebody need to do something still on Friday, and it's Oda Yom Godol. It's still light, and the shaila is if we can still do it. If we can still do it. Happen even somebody that even could happen. Somebody was very busy in the morning, he forgot to daven Shachris, he didn't put tefillin, and he missed his time, and he came, and he remember he didn't put tefillin. And he already did Ma'ariv, already home, he did Kiddush, and he's still Hayom Godel. He's allowed to put tefillin. A person didn't bench on the lulav, in the esrog. And there is a shaila, if somebody is mekabel Shmini Atzeres, early, and Sukkos, and he's sitting in the sukkah, does he has to sit in the sukkah and make Birkas Leishev sukkah? Because it's still Oishayne Rabbah. It's still the day. So I'm going to tell you Bekitzur. It's a very, very long topic, this topic. It's endless, the topic. I'll tell you Bekitzur the Inyan and the Maskana. Also, another very, very practical thing that happened is Sfiras Shiva Nekiim. That the wife want to make Hefsek Taira and she want to count 7 days and she forgot to do it before Ma'ariv and she want to start the 7 days. She want to include Shabbos in the 7 days. Now if she does it at night, you have to start from Sunday to count the days. She doesn't want to miss a day. So, and the husband already davened Ma'ariv, he already did Kabbalah Shabbos, already did candles, already did... And then she remember, oh, she didn't do Hefsek Taira. She allowed to make it Hefsek Taira on the whole Shabbos, and it will be considered that she did it on Friday. And there's many, many cases that happening that this contradiction between Friday and Shabbos. In order to understand that, let's go deep into this concept. The shaila is, how could we make Shabbos early? How could we make it? Hashem said the 7 days Shabbos. So the 7 days Shabbos, well, we can decide now. I want to do now Shabbos. I want to be strict. I want to be Shabbos. I want to do Shabbos now. Can I make Shabbos now? How could a person make Shabbos? We need to understand that how a person has a koyach to do it, and then we will understand how much koyach he has. So we need to see how much is it when a person accepts Shabbos, how strict is it? So we found very extreme thing about Kabbalah Shabbos. Lechumra and lekula. Mamish to the extreme. Shabbos starts in 2-3 points automatically. When it's sunset, that we know it's Sofek Chasheicha. And in the 3 stars, we know for sure Shabbos come out. So the Gemara said, Masechet Shabbos, Navches Amud Beis, Rabbi Oimer, and this is the halacha, that then sunset comes down, and it's a Sofek Shabbos, Sofek Chasheicha, Sofek Yoim, Ein Shvus, Ledvar Mitzvah or Dvar Doichak. There is no Isur Shvus. Somebody need to make Eruv Chatzeros. He forgot to make Eruv Chatzeros. He can't bring the food Shabbos. So we say he's allowed to do it until 3 stars coming out, because it's only with the Rabbanan Shvut. The Tzorich Godel is allowed to do it. Different case, we're not going into details in halacha. What happened if somebody mekabel Shabbos early? Let's talk about this Shabbos. This Shabbos is 8:30 about Ishkia, 9:10 is about Tzeis, and the person between 8:30 and 9:10, he want to do a Isur Shvus D'Rabbanon that is really needed for Shabbos or Dvar Mitzvah. He's allowed to do it. After Shkia, he's allowed to do it, because there's a Tzorech Godel for it. What happened? He was mekabel Shabbos 7 o'clock. It's still day. Now come to him at Tzorech Shabbos, he forgot to make Eruv. He's allowed to do it or not. So the halacha is in Simen Reish Samech Aleph, in the Mechaber, in the Shulchan Aruch Alter Rebbe, Arav, in Mishnah Brura, is not allowed. It's more strict than Ben Hashmoshois. More strict. And he says this is the notion. Because כשעדיין לא קיבל עליו Shabbos, then he's allowed to do all these סתירים. אבל אם כבר קיבל עליו שבת בתפילת ערבית של שבת, Osur lo lasis be'atzmei kol shvus. He's not allowed to do shvus. So we see that Kabbalat Shabbat, Kabbalat Shabbos is very strong. It's more strong than Shkia even. That's one place. The other place is Siman Reish Samech Gimel. He says, מי שקודם להספלל עם ערביס, מותר לו לא יאמר אפילו לישראל, הוא is allowed to say to another Yid, to another Jewish person, to do for you the melacha for Shabbos. What happened after Shkia? 8:30. The guy want to tell another Yid to do for melacha, is not allowed. But if it was Mekabel Shabbos before, we say he's allowed to. So we find a Kulo and a Chumra in Kabbalah Shabbos. So there is a piece in Shulchan Aruch Harav, Shulchan Aruch Alter Rebbe, that's very deep, that he wrote sometime, we have very rarely, we have Kuntres Achroin, that he write is Mekoiros of his Piskei Dinim. Shulchan Aruch Harav, he just collected, but few places he wrote why he was pasking like this. And one of the places is this Indian. So the Alter Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya is Mechadesh in the Inyan of Kabbalah Shabbos to understand what's going on over here in Kabbalah Shabbos. There is so many stiras, so many contradictions in the Bes Yosef, in Shulchan Aruch, between the Kulas and the Chumres. So he said, first of all, there is two ways a person mekabel Shabbos. One way, lenient way, that he mekabel Tosefes Shabbos. Because the Torah said you have to add on Shabbos, and some poskim said it's Deiraisa, the same as Yom Kippur, we have to add. So the guy adding to Shabbos a chiyuv. According to that level, that he was mekabel Shabbos, not Tosefes Shabbos, is lenient way, because he add to the Shabbos. There is a second way is that he davened already Ma'ariv, Kilo he made at night already, that he was mekabel itzumo shel yoim. Not only Tosefes l'Shabbos, but he was mekabel the itzumo shel yoim. And af al pichen, the Baal HaTanya Shulchan Aruch Harav write in another Kuntres Achroin, af al pichen, we say, depends how much he was mekabel. What was in his mind when he was mekabel? We're going into his mind, and we say he wanted, and the lotion of the Kuntres Achroin is over here. מכל מקום, לא קיבל מסתמו, אלו איסורים התלויים בגופוי. The person who is מקבל only איסורים that depends on himself. אבל לא התלויים חוץ לגופוי. Not איסורים that belong outside on himself. In himself, he wants to get chumrah on himself, but not on other people, not on other things. Because of that, he's allowed to tell, even it's so strict, he's allowed to tell another person to do for him a melacha, even it's for him Shabbos, he's allowed to tell a goy, or he's allowed to tell lechatchila, he's allowed to tell a goy, another to do for him a melacha, because he wasn't mekabel it. So we see from it, from all these dots, all these points, it depends how much the person was mekabel on himself. He's taking on himself something, depends what is mekabel. It's getting a little late, but I just want to tell you, in short, there is a famous taz in Ilchos Rosh Hashanah. Because this Indian goes, in the entire Torah it goes, this Indian. Let's say somebody had a baby, and he need to make a bris, and the baby is not healthy, and he have to make the bris on Friday, and it was Mekabel Shabbos. Ma'ariv, and then suddenly the baby is ready. The doctor said he's ready. Can he make the bris on Friday? It's still Friday or not? He was mekabel already Shabbos. In any topic in the Torah, we have this shaila. It's come to this shaila. It's a very goes broad. So what was the story? The Taz bring a story. Shaila. Kol Echod was a community. They prepare shofar for Rosh Hashanah, chazan and everything. came robbers. In those times, I guess it was common that came. They stole a lot of stuff and the shofar. They didn't have a shofar. So they did everything, no shofar. In the meantime, they sent a shliach to another community to get a shofar for them. It was Thursday, Friday, like this, Tovshin Pei Hey, Rosh Hashanah, and the shliach didn't come back because oines. So, no shofar, no shofar. They came Friday, everybody got ready for Shabbos. They did the Kabbalah Shabbos, Ma'ariv, everything. The messenger running back with the shofar. He's back. He's here, the shofar. You're not allowed to blow the shofar on Shabbos. It's already Shabbos. It's Friday. What to do? That was the shaila that came to the Taz. ולא יבוא עד סעיף בייס, ואוי ראש השונה ביום ה' ו' ובשעה שבא השופר כבר הספלנו של שבס. אבל עדיין הויו יום גודל. It was still big day. מהו? לתקוע בעץ ההיא ולא נוחוש לשבוס לאינטויקית בשבס. So he bring Rabbi Yoel that Paskin yes. Then he bring from Rishmaya that Paskin yes. Then his student argue with them, bring Bryce back and forth. And then the Rabbi Yoel Rabbi Shmaya changed his mind and he said no. And then come the Taz with a new invention. And the Taz says like this, he says, if they would know that would come the shofar, they would be mekabel the Shabbos? No, right? Mikachtos. The Kabbalah is Kabbalah betos. Like we have the Siman that if Chashecho, they made a mistake with the clouds, and then he said, and then this is one thing. Then he says, even if let's say they thought maybe the shofar going to come, but they wanted to go home to eat already. You know, the Oilam wanted, there was a pressure on the rabbi to make already Ma'ariv, Shnel already, Shengein, Ahem. He said, still not. Why? He said, they have a chiyuv of shofar on Friday, to blow the shofar. They cannot mekabel Shabbos against the chiyuv that they have on them on Friday. They cannot mafkia the chiyuv that they have. ונראה עוד, דאפילו אוי יודע שיובי שויפו, אחר כך. דלא ימציא לי להפקוי החויב של שויפו דקבולו שלא יודי ושבוע, דו זגד צריכוס, בקיצר he says, the Kabbalah is not a Kabbalah shofar, not a Kabbalah Shabbos. We're erasing it. Because they have to blow shofar. Basically we see from it, the whole thing, but all these halachos we see that the Kabbalah is a hidu. It's a chumrah. It's something that a person is adding to himself, whatever he can. But if you cannot, you cannot. It's a process that he's making. I was thinking even more than that. Maybe a person could be mekabel Shabbos and not for the shofar. Like a chelek Kabbalah Shabbos, except for that part. Maybe a person has even that oifen to be mekabel. So le'alocha lemaise, we will finish with alocha lemaise, and one more vote about that is that there is a Sefer Piskei Din from the Tzemach Tzedek. I don't know if everybody knows the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek was the grandson of the Balatanya. That the Rav Rokeach is from the Tzemach Tzedek, right? He's the grandson of the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek was 3 years old when his mother passed away. So as much the Balatanya is a Tana Upaligu, that he knew tremendous, it was a tremendous going oilom. He had a baby in his room, the grandson, that he was a Yosem, that he took care of him. So from 3 years old, he grew up in his grandfather's room. So the whole Torah the Balatanya knew, the Alter Rebbe knew, that Tzemach Tzedek grew into it. And he was a going beyoyser, Tzemach Tzedek. He wrote in his life, like, and he had 2 million Hasidim in the entire world, Piskei Dinim and other things. And he writes, בנוגע to Isho, to Zainikim, he writes 4 opinions, what to do. We're not time now to say all the 4 opinions. And the Maisi said that by the Eved, even lechatchila, he said, the women should check twice. One time, Efsek Taira before Ma'ariv, and one time again Efsek Taira before Shkia, to be choishes to the second opinion that Ma'ariv doesn't affect and only the night is making it. So what lepoyal? Lepoyal is, that's what I think, maybe different, but we're going to pass it differently. That you do, let's say you put tefillin, you blow the shofar, a brocha, if you're making it a brocha or not, that's already not so simple if you need to make it a brocha or not. But if you forgot to put Rashi or Rabbeinu Tam, Rabbeinu Tam maybe could happen maybe more, because some people don't put right away the Rabbeinu Tam, and they needed to run Friday to go shopping or something, in the short Fridays and whatever, and then you remember, you put it, and then you yoitze the mitzvah. But the Rebbe add to it, another very tough things, the Rebbe add to it, that it's a whole Hakira of Kedushas Shabbos. I'm going to say it in one word, 4 levels in it. If the person is only mekabel on himself, but the Zman, it doesn't affect the Zman, so it's like a neder on himself, he's mekabel Shabbos, or we say that really he take the Shabbos and he pull the Shabbos itself into Friday. The Metzius of Shabbos is changed. And in that himself could be Toifanim, could be he pull it into Friday and it's become Shabbos, and could be he pull it to Friday, it's still Friday, it's considered Friday, but we have the Kedushas Shabbos that he pulled into Friday. But it's still Friday. We did not change the format of Friday and make it Shabbos. And in that himself, the Rebbe said, for sure, it's not night. It's for sure not considered Laila. Even if we're going to say the third option, that it's not only in the Gavra, it's in the Hefza, that we take Shabbos, and Hashem gave a koyach to a person to take the Shabbos and extend it to before, and the Metzius from Friday changed and became Shabbos, doesn't mean that it's the night of Shabbos. So mitzvahs that you have to do by night, balaylo, for example, matzah, that you need to eat balaylo, you cannot eat before, even if it's already Pesach and it's already Shabbos, but it's not Lailo of Shabbos. We should be zoiche that Hashem should pull the Shabbos into the 6,000 years now, like we are now a Plaga Mincha, and we should have all the inyonim and all the benefit of the high level of the Geula Mitzvah Shleimo. Who wants to daven mincha now?
I know we still have very important Pilpulim Drashas ahead of us. We're going to have a quick break to refresh. There's some drinks in the back. We're going to have Mincha now. And after that, we're going to continue with the Shiurim and the Pilpulim from the Rabbanim Shlita. Shkach for joining. So we can continue with the Kinus Torah. The broadcast is continuing live for all those that are watching from far. Everyone's invited to come take the seats. We're going to continue with the Kinus Torah. Following that, we'll be having Maidiv. We have with us one of the Rabbanim Magidei Shum in the community that has been here actually from the beginning. And we're very honored to have him with us. I'd like to call up to be Machabed Elam, Big Magid Shir, and Talmud Chacham, and Rav here, Harav David Shlita.
It's a big honor and privilege for me to be standing here in a Kinus Torah, to be Mechazik Torah, to be Mechazik learning Torah. They mentioned in Bechukatai Telecho, so Rashi says, Shetiyu Amelim B'Torah, the Yerushalmi that says, Ki Chayechem V'Och Yameichem, Emasai Chayechem, when is this your life? Bizman She'atem Yegeyim Ba. When you're putting an effort into it, when you're sweating yourself on it, when you're toiling in Torah, that's when it's chayechem, that's when it's your life. So this is why we've gathered here, not only to learn, is to be yegeya in Torah, to be sweating on Torah, to be understanding behind Torah. So it's getting late. I don't want to be marich. Just a short idea. So we read in the Parsha, it says, Vayitzak Moshe el Hashem lomar elna v'fana la. Moshe Rabbeinu was praying for his sister Miriam. She got saras, and he's praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please help her. He says elna v'fana la, and the Gemara and Brachas, the medallah that's brought down in Midrashim too. Amar Rav Chizda kol hamavakesh racham al chavero en tzach la'azkir shemo. Doesn't have to mention his name. They learn it from Moshe Rabbeinu. The Moshe Rabbeinu just said El Navafan Allah. He didn't mention Miriam's name. So it's known, the big machlokas rishonim of chiyuv tefillah is when a person has to be praying. Is it every time? It's, according to the Rambam, it's mitzvat aseh to pray every single day. According to the Ramban, it's only a mitzvah aseh be'ez tzara, when there's a bad time in Am Yisrael. And he mentions it's only in a tzibur, of a tzara of a klal, not necessarily a tzara of a yachid. But the Rabbanan, it's a mitzvah to pray, mitzvah to daven. But it's brought down already in the Sefer Hasidim. He brings that his lashon is like kevan she'as tzara la'adam. We have a chiyuv of din avus. He says, midin avus, everyone has to go take his time to daven for his friend. He's sick. Make sure he gets a refuah shalema. And the Rambam, the Shulchan Aruch, Yoredei Siman Shin Lamed Hey, the Ramah brings it there. And the Poskim bring it down that the chiyuv, the ikar of the mitzvahs, when I go and see someone sick, is to daven for him. To be mitpalal for him, that he should be well. And if a person goes to see someone, that's the mashba. It sounds like from these Rishonim, these poskim, if someone goes to see someone sick and he just tells him refuah shalema, it's not enough. He has to take down his name, he has to go home, and he has to mamish daven for him that he should be well, be okay. So it's interesting. So we said that when you mavakesh, when you want to daven for someone, mavakesh rachamim, you don't have to mention his name. So it's brought down in the poskim, the Magen Avraham and Kuf Yud Tet Sif Aleph brings it already, and he brings it with the name of the Maharil. He says, this is only when the chole is befanav. When he's in front of you, you don't have to mention his name. When he's not in front of you, you have to mention his name. So there's an interesting Gemara. The Gemara in the Darim Daf Mem says that someone who doesn't go and visit his sick friend is ki'ilu shofach damim. Ki'ilu shofach damim. It's a very harsh Gemara. So there's a very fascinating Chatam Sofer explains, very interesting shah. Based on this that we said, that if the chola is befanav, you don't have to mention his name. He says because the Mekubalim bring down that to say someone's name when he's sick, it could ma'or din. We don't want to be ma'or din on a person based tzara of his own. He's sick. So therefore, how's the way not to be ma'or din? How's the way not to mention his name? Is to go and see the chola, to go and see the sick man, and to daven for him in front of his face. Don't have to mention his name. He says, therefore, if you don't be mevaker the chola, you don't go see the chola, and you go and pray for him from your shul, from your house, you call him up, how are you doing? You're shofach damim. You could be ma'or the din on him, because of you he could die. Therefore, you have to go when someone's sick. Go and see him. Go in front of him. Daven to him right in front of his face. It's a fascinating Chatam Sofer. That's he explains the Gemara. Anyway, that's the idea of davening for chola, davening for someone who's sick, to go and daven for him, to be ma'or rachmei shamayim for him. It's also the Gemara brings down Barabasa Kuftas Vav. It's in Daf Yomi. The Gemara says someone who has a chola b'toch beita yelech etzel chacham v'yevakesh. Yevakesh. So there's a pshat. It means yevakesh. You should daven for him. But the Meiri over there says a different explanation. And the Meiri says, what's he mevakesh from him? He's mevakesh him. The Meiri says that he should show him what to do. Show him how to daven for chola. Show him what's the best thing to do. And it's known, it's a famous Chatam Sofer. He brings that the reason that we go to a tzaddik, because the tzaddik is the closest man to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the tzino hashefa. He's the closest man. So when you're standing next to a tzaddik, you're going to be the closest area to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the best place to be. I want to end with an interesting shaila that the poskim discussed around 100 years ago, over 100 years ago. There was a town in Europe, and there was a very sick man, and over Shabbos he complained that he heard that there was the great Belzer Rebbe, the Sar Shalom Belz was not far away, a few miles away from him, and he wanted his wife to arrange a non-Jew to write a letter to the Rebbe that he should pray for him. That's what he wanted. It will make him feel better. So the wife went to the Rav of the town, and he asked him, could I do it? And the Rav thought to himself, asking a guy on Shabbos is darabanan, I could be make a darabanan for a chola. Chola sheyesh b'sakana. So that's what happened. They wrote a letter, they sent it to the rabbi. Now after, when a few of the rabbis around heard this story, Reb Shlomo Kluger, he went very against it. And he got very upset, and he told this Rav, you have to leave your job, took away the Rabbanos from him, took away from him. The Shalom Meshiv at the time, Reb Shaul Natanzon, and he wrote the Tshuva and Shalom Meshiv, he writes about it. He did the same thing. He went against it. He said, of course you can't be writing letters on Shabbos in order to send to a rabbi. He was very against it. But even so, we do find that some of the poskim, not necessarily were so against this. Maybe there was a reason why at that time the Shalom Meshiv, we even find there's another tshuva in the Shalom Meshiv that he mentions that sometimes we're allowed to, as the Gemara says, li yisuve daita, in order to calm the chola, calm him down, we could do things. Like a husband could go with his wife, the Shalom Meshiv says, he could go with his wife to the hospital, even that they don't need for pikuach nefesh the husband there, but by him being with the wife, it makes her calmer. She's allowed to go on Shabbos. So we do find that in order to calm down the chola a bit, it's allowed. So therefore, we find that the Kaf HaChaim also brings a certain idea like this, that we could even allow to write a kameya on Shabbos in order to save someone's life. There was a story, the Chidah brings it in Birkei Yosef, that there was a big chacham that on Shabbos wrote a kameya in order to save a young girl's life from dying. So he doesn't bring who it was. Rav Chaim Falaji in Refuah V'Chaim, he says it was the Rashash. The Rashash was the one who wrote this kameya. So you find that the Rashash wrote a kameya on Shabbos in order to save a girl's life. So you do find that it was brought down. Maybe over there it's different because the actual kameya was the Hatzalas Nefashos. Writing the letter wasn't the Hatzalah. But even so, the Paiskim do bring down that if it's going to calm someone down, the Yetuv Daita, in order to make them calm, it's allowed on Shabbos. And of course, the Maharsham also brings this idea, he brings a long tshuva about it, and he brings a story, and he brings the second part of the story. What happened? The letter Lamaisa came to the Sar Shalom. What happened? He says when it came to the Sar Shalom got very upset, and he said, if it came to me on Shabbos, therefore now I have to do a big hishtalas that this guy shouldn't die, because if he dies, then it was Chil Shabbos. So he said, I had to do a big hishtalas. That was the story the Maharsham says. The Maharsham ends and says, at the end of the day, you can't say it's mutar. You can't say it's mutar, because if you're going to say that, what's going to happen? Shabbos is going to be kalav. So he says a person has to ask a Rav before, a Rav is a Talmud Chacham, before he does such a thing. But we do find in the Pasuk that they did discuss this, and this is just, we'll end it with this, because I don't want to keep a care, but of course it should be we should have a tremendous aliyah just from sitting down together and be yegeya, because this is chayechem, as Yerushalmi says. When is this our life? Is when we don't only learn, we learn the depth of Torah, the shakor.
Shukach, Arav David Shlita, thank you very much. We're honored to have with us a very chashuv love in the community. As my father mentioned, a grandchild from the Tzemach Tzedek, and he's known in the from the Sar Shalom as well. And he's known in the community for being a Rav that's a people's person. There's many Rabbonim that are great Rabbonim, great Talmidei Chachamim, but they're a little separated from the people. V'Rekach is known to be Mu'urav bin Abriyas, a people's person, a very liked Rav. Without further ado, Harav Rekach Shlita.
B'shus Mordasa Shlita, Yidid Nafshi Remendel, Bonim Agoinim, and Kola Kodesh Hazeh. Remendel said, I'm a people's person. I know people don't like to be schlepped out. I'll be very mekatzer. I think that's part of my success. My speech is usually between 3 and 5 minutes of speech. I'll try to keep it over here as well. Also, short and sweet. We got together tonight a Kinus for Torah. A Kinus for Torah, to be mechazik Torah. When a person has a Torah digger cup, you become smart. Tzaddikim, yes, for das Torah, what does Torah teach a person? Torah, he knows the Lashon of Oirah. It's a way, it shows a person how to think, how to act. Today, I'll just say a short story to start off the topic. Today was the yahrzeit of the Beis Saharan. Beis Saharan was the Stolner Rebbe, the third Stolner Rebbe, the fourth Stolner Rebbe. There's Rabbi Godol. Rabbi Godol was a Talmud of the Maggid. You know, the famous story, he was knocked on the Mazitcha Maggid's door, and I think he said, who's there? And he said, it's me. And the Maggid didn't open the door. And then he said, Anoich, there's only one me, there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the Rabbi Godol, and he was nifted at a very young age, and his Talmud, Shlomo Kalina, took over. Then Rabbi Godol's son, Reb Osher, and Beis Saharan took over today. So we bring out an interessante Sache, how a Chacham learns Torah, becomes smart. The Beis Saharan in Stalin, when a person his wife was expecting a child, it wasn't like today you can send a fax or a WhatsApp to the Rebbe asking, what name should I give to my child? So when the wife was expecting, and during the pregnancy, they would go to the Rebbe and, what name should I give to my child? And sometimes the Rebbe would say, if it's a boy, give him this name. If it's a girl, give it that name. And what month is your wife in? And he would say, the 5th month, the 6th month, the 7th month. They went on for many years. It was once a chassid who didn't have children for many years. And he went to the Rebbe every year, Rebbe, ich darf a brach, I need a brach to have a child. And the Rebbe never gave him a bracha. And one year, because he came to a Kinus for Torah and became Torah smart. And after davening, there was a line of asking what name to give for the child, and he got in the line. The Rebbe would put his talzin tun over his head, and you say, if it's a boy, give him this name, if it's a girl, that name. And he came his turn and said, Rebbe, what name should I give my child? He said, if it's a boy, give him this name, if it's a girl, give her that name. And what month is your wife in? He said, Rebbe, it's 1 month before the first one. And the Rebbe realized the guy outsmarted him, and the Rebbe said, you're a bandit. But the bracha stays by you when he was like to have a child 9 months later. That comes from learning the Heilige Torah. And a person learns the Torah, you get the Torah dige seichel, the Torah dige chachma. And you know how to push a Rebbe to get a bracha, and the Rebbe gives you a bracha. Bandit bisti, of gepoil nafst gepoil toichid. Rabbi said, this parsha, we got together to be mechazik ourselves in Torah. Remember, we have to shvuas. What wir schon gewähnt, was davon weiter jetzt? Why are we getting against Kinus over here? Rabbi say, we know this week's parsha is Shlach Lecha Anoshim. And we know Rashi says, Anoshim boise shok sherim hoyo. That time when Moshe Rabbeinu sent them out, Ayut Tzadikim. Can you imagine who Moshe Rabbeinu sent them every single shevet? They were gedolim. Each shevet, they picked one person to be out. And then what said, what happened afterwards? Such a chet ha-merag, 40 years they had to be in the midbar for this chet. What happened? Ma kara shama, tasbili, ma kara. What happened over here? Where did they go wrong? And Rabbi said, the Sfarim bring down, the Rebbe brings down, and all the Chsish Sfarim bring down, and the Zelbe Kav, the same Mahalich, a bissel, a bil karoif, and a bil karop, but the double Mahalich. And they all bring down that pshat is, it was so geschmack to be in the midbar. Who they learn Torah from? Moshe Rabbeinu. Is it Shaykh better to have than Moshe Rabbeinu? Bemet. Shayach, is it possible better to have than Moshe Rabbeinu? Nishayach. Ahar na koyin, the Godel, the koyin Godel. Is Shaykh aggressive. Oh, you Sholem, Veroy the Sholem, the Sholem bias problem. They call Aaron doing favor. The Sholem parent, help me out, my wife. Segait nish gid. You had Miriam Anavia, you had the Nana Kovoy, you had the Bereshel Miriam, you had everything. They knew once they go into Eretz Yisrael, it's all over. You got to roll up your sleeves and get to work. And they made a cheshbon hanefesh. It's not kedai to go into Eretz Yisrael. It's not kedai. It's a sach geschmack being the midbond and Nana covered. Whatever I need, I have. And then when they came up with the Bubba Maisa, it's not good over there. When they go, when they get killed, it's not kedai. But their machshava, what was their depth of their meaning? Because it's not kedai come there, it's so geschmack over here. So what was the time against them? They had a good mahalach, good machshava. Now the Rebbe says, and all the Sfarim bring down, Because when life is easy, that's not a kunst to be an ehrlich Yid. When life, you have Moshe Rabbeinu, and you have Anakoyin, and you have the Nanikavod, you have the Mon, and you have the Bersha Miriam. You have everything going, and you learn Torah. That's not a trick. That's simple, of course. What else should you do in this world? What does Hashem want from us? Hashem wants from us when life gets tough. And when the mortgage rates are going up, instead of 2.75, it's 7.8% already. And I bought a house and it's not stimming my cheshbonis over here. And things are not going as I imagined and as I expected and as I wanted. And things are going not as well, and then things don't look as rosy and as geschmack as I thought it to be. And then you take out your Gemara. And then you take out your Chassidische Sefer. And then you come to Shul. And then you find the minyan. When things are not as great as you're expecting to be. And you horva and you daven and you learn, you say, Hashem, when it's dark, I trust you and I realize, Hashem, it's not me, it's only you. And I'm not the smartest invest in the world to know that was also you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now it's also you. When a person internalizes, when the tough gets going, whatever the expression is, Al Capone, when Siveta B'S Shrem, still by Tech, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's where we get the points. And that's where we get the schar. And therefore Hashem told the Meraglim, your mistake is, not only when life is geschmack, you have to sit and learn the Heilige Torah. Life, darf ma'arbetin, and then you get the schar from your Misyagei and Torah and gets rough. And I think the Mendel Rabbi Handel, I think the matter of this meeting over here is, Avad the Shuas, we all get a tremendous dosage of Torah. But that's a beginning of a Serus of the Leila. The Eibische Shantarein, a Gevaldi Korch teaching every one of us. But our avoid is, we're coming now the summer months with all its challenges. We all have challenges, the summer months come up. Those whose wives go away, you're home alone. What should I do at night? You come into the Besmedish, that's the best place. There's safety over here. This is home base. I remember, they would say that a Chassidish shtibel is like an embassy. Meaning, American citizen, we all know, no matter which country you go to, you get to the embassy, you're safe. No one can touch you. Chassidish shtibel, they would say, is the embassy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Any country you're in, you come into the shtibel, no one can touch you. The Eitzara stops at the door. Moshchele by Semedish, why? Because he can't come into the Besmedish. He stops out the door, he can't come inside. And therefore, a shtibel of Besmedish, lav davka shtibel, a svardi bet knesset, a gamtov. Anytime you come to a Besmedish, that's the main thing. You come to Besmedish. Whether the wives go away or if you're home with your wife, there's challenges. But you know that you have the Heilige Torah, you have everything. I'd like to give a bracha, me'imku delibi, to Rav Handel. The Eibische helfen, is man weiter matzlich sein, to be meifetz Teure und Chassidus, mit Torah Chovas Adas, und gewaltig Siyata Deshmaya. He did Nafshi the Mendel, and the Choshve Eidim, and the Kol HaKol Shazeh, Shevat be matzlich, to spread the light of Yiddishkeit, of Chassidishkeit. Bei uns ist eine Sache, die zwei Sachen gehen zusammen. It's one thing over here, until we solche matchen to the ultimate light. As we say every day, Or Chodesh al Tzio in Toiv, Niske Chilonu, B'meir L'Oiroi, B'bias Gol Tzedek, Merev Yemenu, Amen. Gute Nacht.
Shkoyach Gadol, Rabbi Keach Shlita, for your warm words. And I want to use this opportunity to thank Rabbi Keach for everything that he does for the community, and to remind the Olam that Be'ezus Hashem, this event is a recurring event. Keep in mind, put it in your calendar, the Sunday after Simchas Torah, the next Kinus Torah. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for those that joined online live. And we're going to be continuing now with Maidiv. Shokach.